Brothers and sisters, I want to tell you this. The greatest thing on earth is to have the love of God in your heart. And the next greatest thing is to have electricity in your house. We didn't get electricity on the farm until 1945, I think, 4 or 5. So, yeah, that was a way of life. Didn't know any better, I guess.
Out in the country, we were some delighted to have electricity. I don't think I ever heard anybody that wasn't happy with electricity. When all you had to do was walk in and turn the switch on, that was a whole different ballgame.
Summer and winter go by. It may be dark in the barn, but you've got to milk just the same.
My dad and mother always milked. They didn't by hand. Dad got by with a lantern in the barn. He didn't have to see much.
Our folks had a Delco system, a little generator, and I think about 20 or 30 batteries, and that provided us with lights in the house and the barn.
About 1916 was the first ad I found locally for a Delco plant. Someone in Margaretville was starting to sell them. It was kind of a nuisance to try to keep them full, if you ran out of gas.
Electrification was not happening in the countryside, and it wasn't just a New York problem, it was a problem throughout the United States. FDR pushed for the passage of the Rural Electrification Administration, or REA. Our representatives in Washington and the president, they went to the industry at the time, in the NYSEGs of the world, and said, we would like to find a way to convince you to serve rural America. And they said, absolutely. We'll serve 1% more of Americans than we serve now. And that didn't seem like a very satisfying answer. Our leadership in Washington at the time turned to a different model, a cooperative business model. Individuals borrow money, put it to use to electrify their rural area, pay it back, and then when it gets paid back, we can let somebody else borrow it. So that same pot of money was used to basically get all of America served.
It was 1941 in May that they had the first interest meeting in Delaware County about creating this Rural Electric Association. They weren't calling it a cooperative yet, it was an association. April of 42, the governor signed into law an act that made them into cooperatives.
The REA loans money at low interest rates for line construction and, where necessary, for generating plants to the cooperatives set up by the farmers in the community. There are no private investors, no profit making. You don't risk any cash yourself except a small membership fee.
In January of 44, the first polls are set in place. And by June, they had the first 12 farmers electrified.
They brought the poles up near to where they were going to need them. They may have had one truck, but nothing like modern trucks.
When the co-op was formed, it was formed for the farmers. They went by individual houses and they would not serve them until the farmer was served.
When I come to work every morning, there's no conflict in my mind as to who I'm serving, whether I'm serving a stockholder or if I'm serving my customer. Because we don't have customers and we don't have stockholders. We have members who are also the owners that we serve.
DCEC is one of over 900 cooperatives in the United States. And if time has taught us anything, it is that the member-owned, nonprofit approach to providing electric service is an effective and strong business model that has stood the test of time.
By about 1947, 48, they had several hundred on. In fact, they hit a point in 1948 where everyone who wanted to be connected to the cooperative was connected.
All we do is deliver energy to our members. We don't have large-scale generation. We buy all of our energy from the New York Power Authority. 90% of that is hydropower from Niagara Falls, and the remainder of that is stuff that we buy on the market, whatever we can get at a reasonable price.
1967, we had about 1,500 members, and we had about 475 miles of line, And comparing to today's standard, we got about 800 miles of line and about 5,300 member consumers.
When I first started, the members read their own meters. There was a lot of interaction with the members. They would have to read their meters by the 20th and they'd have to call it in by the 28th. I got to engage with them. Interaction that, due to technology, isn't occurring any longer. We are in a busier world. They want to be able to just pay their bill on their phone. The part about being a co-op member still resonates, which is really nice to see that carry through the generations.
As the 50s get into the 60s, the number of farms starts to drop. So they are going after the non-farm rural population and having some success there. Their biggest time period was in the 80s. I think 1988, they added like over 200, and that was new customers. And now they've also gone into businesses. Delaware County Electric Cooperative has done a newsletter since its like first or second year. Since about 2007 has been online.
One of our goals is going to be communications. We've got to find a way to connect with those that don't come to the annual meeting, that don't read the newsletter, because they're the future members, the future owners of the cooperative.
So the membership definitely has a huge voice, and they can engage in direct democracy.
Now this broadband initiative is going to change the makeup.
I would expect our membership to continue to evolve. In 2015, less than 50% of our members had access to broadband. By the end of 2018, 99.2% of our members will have access to speeds on the order of 100 megabits per second. This is a huge transformational impact on our members, how they can live, where they can spend their time.
We are the gem of all business models. A group of people wanted to change their lifestyle, and they made that happen. They are in control of their own destiny. It's not driven by the bottom line, but when we do have a margin, it goes back to the members. Everything about the cooperative business model is a win-win for everybody.
And today's stock price is still $5 to purchase that membership.
It was a wonderful change, that's all I can say. I'm sure my folks were grateful for electricity.
We turned every light on in the house and went down the road and looked at it just to get a picture of so much light.